So this is one of the first thoughts, which kind of just like in my mind. I've seen in many cases people say, well, we don't have songs. We don't have the songs. And so usually what I say is, well, have you gone out and asked the land for the songs? Right? Don't go take a Cherokee song if you're not Cherokee. That is their identity, right? With the land, if you create your own relationship with place, the land will give you the song, right? And then that song is appropriate to you in that place in your relationship. The same thing happens. The stories come, the symbols come, the ceremonies come, they arise from place. So I think the reason we have to have this conversation is, I want to kind of acknowledge this and then move on past it, is basically this. I think back, and I've done a little research into my own personal history. And on my mother's side of the family, I have Irish Celtic. On my father's side, I have Germanic descent. And I can go back in history and I can find the time when both of those people groups had an indigenous relationship with place. Right? And there's a moment in time when something happened where that indigenous relationship with place was taken away. And that created a trauma. And that became an intergenerational trauma for all the people that came after in that lineage. Now, what's interesting is that what you see is that a couple generations after, on my Irish Celtic side, that the expanding Roman Empire did that to the Irish Celtic people. Guess what? They were here on Turtle Island, this continent, doing the same thing to other groups of people. We know that when people are traumatized, that sometimes what happens is, if that trauma is not healed, they'll turn around and basically reenact that trauma, right? So when I think about this now, the more, and this is, again, comes from some of the Haudenosaunee medicine people we talked to, they basically pointed out that pretty much now all of us have a trauma of having our indigenous relationship attacked. It's simply, how far back in your generational history did that happen? Because the people here on this continent have had their indigenous relationship with place attacked over the last couple hundred years. It so happens that there are other peoples that had that relationship attacked 1,000 or even 2,000 years ago or more, right? So where we all are is in this question of, how do we have an indigenous relationship to place? What is an indigenous relationship to place? And to the degree that all of us have had it somewhat diminished, probably, how do we think about what that was and how we grow that back? And that was a little bit of what I wanted to think about, because there are a lot of people that I've met here in Asheville are thinking about the trauma side of this. And I don't want to dig into it too deeply tonight, but I'm an engineer, so I'm very practical. And I wanted to think a little bit about, what does it mean to practically get that relationship back? What does it look like, okay, to practically get that back? And yes, I'll agree that there is a lot that has to be done in the healing of trauma in order to be able to do that. But there is a whole other side to it, which is relationship to place and relationship in place.